Greetings, exalted ones. In this episode, I'm going to talk about one aspect of what I believe is the central scene in all of Star Wars. So, let's dig in.
No. We'll never get it out now.
How many times have you heard this kind of language when you or someone you know has been in trouble or in some undesirable situation? For example, I'll never have that. I'll never achieve this. That's never going to happen. These statements indicate thinking that is focused entirely on current circumstances at the expense of the desired circumstances. In the same way, Luke here is entirely focused on what is, on the facts, on the evidence of the senses. His words reflect his beliefs about the situation, that his X-Wing will never be recovered, and by extension, he will never leave Dagobah, and that he'll have to live in this slimy mud hole with Yoda for the rest of his life.
Mud hole? Slimy? My home this is!
To Luke, the swamp represents everything and every situation in his life that has made him feel immobilized in the past. His words echo the negative outlook he had in relation to his previous life on Tatooine.
It just isn't fair. Oh, Biggs is right. I'm never gonna get out of here.
Where are you going?
Looks like I'm going nowhere.
He became accustomed to and even comfortable with believing he would be on Tatooine forever, which led him to doubt the possibility of leaving. Because of this, when he had an opportunity to leave the planet with Obi-Wan, he declined.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to get home. It's late. I'm in port as it is.
I need your help, Luke.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it, but there's nothing I can do about it right now.
At that time, and apparently even by the time he met Yoda, he didn't realize that his mental beliefs, as reflected in his speech, kept him tied to his current situation, not any external force outside his control. Luke's attention to his current circumstances, not the desired circumstances, held him back from believing in a way out, which only served to delay the manifestation of his desires. So when Luke saw the swamp swallowing his X-Wing, it brought him back to a familiar state of mind in which he felt trapped by undesirable circumstances, and that led him straight back to his previous self-doubt. Luke doubted he would ever leave Tatooine, even though he wanted it more than anything, and now he doubted he could ever leave Dagobah. The following quote by Shakespeare perfectly describes Luke's emotional state. Our doubts are traitors, and make us lose the good we oft might win, by fearing to attempt. Yoda, however, had faith, which is, according to the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, verse 1, being sure of what we hope for, and certain of what we do not see.
We'll never get it out now.
So certain are you?
Yoda knew that beliefs determine the reality we perceive and create. As entrepreneur and New York Times best-selling author Marie Forleo affirmed in her Super Soul speech entitled Everything is Figure-Outable,
so make no mistake, my friends. What we say to ourselves in the privacy of our own minds matters. It drives our behavior, which drives our destiny, which shapes our world.
Author and speaker Neville Goddard explained it this way.
We are told in the earliest gospel, the book of Mark, the 9th chapter, the 23rd verse. All things are possible to him who believes. Human imagining has one restriction placed upon it: to believe. There is no other limitation other than man's capacity to believe what he has imagined. So the only restriction placed upon man is his ability to believe what his reason, what his senses deny.
Yoda knew that Luke had the ability to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp if he simply lined up his belief with his desire, rather than doubting in its possibility based on what his senses told him. As inspirational speaker and author Esther Hicks explains,
You can't get to where you want to be from a place of believing that you can't get there. The law of attraction will not make you the one exception. He doesn't believe, but give it to him anyway because he's nice. It's not how it works. When you believe it, you will see it. Wayne Dyer wrote the best title for the best book that said, you'll see it when you believe it. He said, everybody says, I'll believe it when I see it. And he says, no, you'll see it when you believe it. And you say, I know, I'll see it when I believe it, but how can I believe something that I can't see? By believing other things, by trying to remember a time when you didn't believe something else and then you saw it. By looking for evidence that supports your desire rather than evidence that supports your failure to your desire. By looking for what you want to see, not by looking at what you've got. The thing that keeps you from getting what you want is being where you are. This is where I am, how do I get over there? And we say, you can't. Not as long as you're so rooted in where you are. You've got to try to find the vibrational frequency of over there, and in doing so, you will release the frequency of where you are.
The Bible echoes this in the book of John, chapter 20, verse 29, which says, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." But Luke did not believe.
Always with you, what cannot be done.
You want the impossible.
Luke's words reflect his belief that what was possible and impossible could only be determined by his own past experience. Author and lecturer Bob Proctor describes this kind of thinking in his personal development program entitled You Were Born Rich.
You'll find that the vast majority of people seems to back into the future, dragging all of their old experience with them. When they're confronted with a new idea, they ask, does it fit? If it doesn't, then they say it's wrong.
Luke never used the force to lift a ship before, so it wasn't possible for him. Sadly, Luke did not build on his previous successes. The man who destroyed the Death Star by letting go and using the Force did not believe that he could lift his ship out of a swamp using that same force. Despite his instrumental role in the Battle of Yavin, he didn't yet realize that, as Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. After witnessing Luke's failed attempt, Yoda was undoubtedly thinking along the lines of these words from Neville Goddard.
Man creates his objective world out of imagination and faith. If I can persuade myself of the reality of that which I have imagined, no power in the world can stop it from coming to pass.
I don't believe it.
That is why you fail.
So, what about you? What do you believe is possible in your life, the lives of others, or the world at large? If you believe that what you want is possible, and you maintain that belief, your faith will move you out of the swamp of the current circumstances of your life and onto the solid ground of your desired future. I leave you now to meditate on these inspiring words from Neville Goddard and Marie Forleo.
An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. It does not matter if, at the present moment, external facts deny the truth of your assumption. If you persist in your assumption, it will become a fact.
And what we need now, more than anything else, is people who believe in what's possible.
Thank you so much for listening. And remember, Source will be with you, always.
Ready, are you? What knows you of ready?
His name's Yoda. He can use the Force to move things with his mind. Like this.